actually going in the wrong direction, and Dr. Rhodes is nodding his head. And, you know, the bottom line is baby born in Oklahoma is more likely to die before their first birthday than in most other states. And that's unacceptable. This is one of the priority programs for us. So I appreciate all the educational opportunities and the little updates that we get here, just so that we're all aware of the health conditions of the state. Next, just as a reminder, every month we're going to have a team from the Employee Initiative come up and talk about what it is that they've been doing. And so we have today Walter Jacques, who is very passionate about being involved in the community that he works and that the community that he lives in, actually. And so I think he's got a pretty good, feel-good presentation for us. And pretty, right? You were going to try to fly. We're going to try to fly through these. I would encourage you guys to participate and ask a few questions, but we are going to pay particular attention to the clock today. So come on up, Walter.
Okay, thanks, Julie. Most of you know me. I'm Walter Jacques. For those in the county, I work in the counties. I work in protective health services on the 12th floor as Director of Quality Assurance. Crystal, if you want to fire up that presentation. This is going to go really fast. It's a whole lot of information to give in 5 minutes. Okay, this is a community involvement team presentation. This is one of the employee initiatives. Next, Crystal. Who is this group? It's a lot of people, over 25 OSDH dedicated employees who are volunteers who do Adopt a Street and other different programs, and they're subject matter experts in various fields which may or may not be related to their jobs. Okay, the idea is, on a volunteer basis, identify health-related problems and coordinate OSDH and external resources and subject matter experts to achieve improvements in a manner that's consistent with our mission, vision, policies, and goals. Next. Okay, so there are two projects I'm going to go through really quickly. It's going to be a lot of slides that this group has done. It initially started with the Adopt a Street program. If you're in here and you've participated in Adopt a Street, I see several faces. Would you raise your hand so everybody knows? I see James. Who do I see? Jana over there. About 25 people across divisions have participated in Adopt a Street. Next. Okay, why is it important that we do this Adopt a Street program? Next. This is the 7311 zip code, which extends from 16th and Kelly down to Sooner and Reno in Oklahoma City. This zip code has been identified in a report published by the City County Health Department earlier this year as being the worst health statistics in the entire county, in Oklahoma County. They stratify using a dozen different health indicators. 73117, which actually is where we are, where this red dot is, has the worst health statistics in the state that has the worst health statistics in the country. So in other words, the least healthy people in the whole country, right across the street from where we're sitting in this room. Next. Also, Douglas High School, the Oklahoma City public school system just held a big referendum, a couple of them, in several high schools around the county, or in Oklahoma City rather. The schools on the east side of Oklahoma City are in a huge crisis right now. Douglas has, I want to say, a 70% graduation rate and huge illiteracy problems. So I want to show you several slides in the neighborhood. I actually don't live in the neighborhood here. I live in Del City. I participate in the neighborhood association here and work several issues. But I want you to get an idea for what children who are going to school at Douglas face, or Moon Academy. In the forum at Douglas the other night, just really quickly, somebody posed a question to one of the state superintendent candidates. What do you intend to do about discipline, and be specific? And the guy said, well, first of all, you have to be familiar with who this student is. Because I had a student in my office the other day because he hadn't turned in his homework, and asked him, why didn't you turn it in? He said, because the power had been cut off in my house. It wasn't he didn't want to do his homework. He lived in a house that had no power. What do kids face? What you see a lot of in the neighborhood just to the south of us is a lot of children who are being raised by single grandmothers. Dad's probably not in the picture, and likely mom isn't either. They grow up in a house that may or may not have heat, adequate food. If there is adequate food, it's probably not nutritious. Oh, by the way, get out the door, they have to check for the boogeyman on the front porch. They've got to unlock a couple of deadbolts on the big door. Then they've got to fumble with this big wrought iron gate, which is also locked. So in the case of a fire, if they don't have a really good smoke alarm, they'll probably not get out of the house. Turning around, looking directly to the north from this house, there's a vacant lot where a house has been demolished. To the west of that is this house, which has been condemned by the city. and will be torn down. Next. Looking off of the rooftop of this building down across the neighborhood to the southeast, this is what you see. So as kids are walking to school after they've checked for the boogeyman, gotten through all the locks, probably didn't have a good breakfast, they're walking through really a cloud that they may or may not be able to see, but it's there. As a matter of fact, for those of you who may remember the name Opio Touré, he was a state representative, District 99, died in 2008 at age 53 of a degenerative lung condition after living in this house for 24 years. Now, I don't know what might have caused his lung condition, but you might want to think about that. Standing on this brick retaining wall, shooting a photo back at the health department. Next slide. This is what you see. Here's the health department. And again, another house like this has been condemned, boarded up. This is what kids walk past by the dozens on the way to school. Next. On sidewalks that look like this. So this is why we started Adopt a Street, to take streets like this, make them look like this. Here's Douglas High School in the background. Next. Okay, and another one. This was Monty Serber in long-term care. Took 10 minutes to turn that into this. Next. On the rare occasion we get really lucky, we clean up a sidewalk that looked like this. The sidewalk turned out to be all torn up. And after a 7-month struggle with the city, we actually got it repaired. It looks like this. Next. After these kids get through all those other obstacles, the last thing they have to get through on the way to Douglas is a lubricant manufacturing plant. So if you've ever walked past this or ridden your bicycle past it, you know it smells like the inside of a tube of axle grease. It's not really good stuff for kids to be breathing on the way to school. Next. Okay. Here's the neighborhood association, basically. Members who show up at most of the meeting are most of these people. Really nice folks. In looking around this group, I'm very familiar with them and their issues, their families. I can tell you that there are a lot of health issues just in this photo. You're talking heart disease, Alzheimer's, obesity, a lot of stuff. Next slide. But they're really nice folks. What we worked on in the last year was putting together a grant to get a bunch of money for this neighborhood association to do some things to help build up a sense of pride and ownership in the community. We actually got the grant. What we did with the money was get a bunch of neighborhood association street signs made that look like this. Actually, it's this logo reversed. You'll see them along Northeast State Street, Martin Luther King, and Northeast 4th Street. We also got landscaping put in the median of Lottie at 4th and 8th with about another $3,600. So we got about $10,000. Part of the grant was we held a block party to raise a little bit of matching funds for the grant, which was a mandatory component. It was a good neighborhood building event. Marisa is here doing her job in the health equity campaign. She had a booth set up, raising awareness, and she was doing a survey. So she was a great participant in that effort. Next. A very interesting thing, in this neighborhood where there are a bunch of beat, falling down and condemned houses and vacant lots, you'll see a couple of pockets of very nice new homes. Some of the homes actually are in the $180,000 range. So really interesting dynamics going on over there. Next, Crystal. Okay, so how does all this work? How do we put this together? Next. This looks really kind of convoluted, but the idea, like I said early on, is to match up subject matter experts with resources. And these rectangles represent the different groups of resources. And all these resources actually were tapped in the application, in the procurement of that grant over here to beef up this resource, which is the neighbors in the community, to help make them self-sustaining so they can address their own issues and become a stronger community. We can look at that later. I'm not going to go at it in depth. Next. Okay, a second project that addresses a major problem in Oklahoma City, the metro area in general. Next. Okay, why is this important? I forgot the title was a bicycle trail between metro Oklahoma City and the Mid-Del area. Currently, if you want to ride a bicycle from here, for example, to Tinker Air Force Base, you're going to risk your life on a mile section somewhere because there's no safe route to do that. And I don't know, is Robin in here? Robin's not here, Maurice's not here. We did Bike to Work Day a couple of years ago, and we rode down the South Grand Trail, but to get there, we went down Martin Luther King, across the Fort Smith Junction Bridge, and Robin didn't care for that at all, and for good reason. Here's two good reasons to do this project. In one weekend in July, 2 bicyclists were killed in the metro area riding their bicycles on mile sections, one on Britain Road, the other on Midwest Boulevard. In fact, I met with Jerry Church at ACOG last night, the Association of Central Oklahoma Governments. I sit on a board there. And he told me that there were 6 more cyclists killed just in the last week in Oklahoma. So we got a big problem with car and bicycle collisions. Next. Okay, again, here's a 73117 zip code. And part of the fallout from poverty is there are no good grocery options in here. So where do people who live in here shop for good groceries? Well, as it turns out, a lot of them shop at the Walmart in Del City. So here's the problem. People here also work in Del City or at Tinker Air Force Base. How do they get there? Next slide. Hold on, let's still hold it right there. Back up, please. Some people aren't familiar with the term mile section. So a mile section is these streets like 23rd, 10th, Reno, 15th, Meridian, MacArthur, etc. They're very high traffic, and usually they have curbs on them. So there is no shoulder, so a cyclist can't get out of the way for heavy traffic. You're just there sharing the lane with Suburbans that blast past you at high speed. An alternate to 10th or Reno, here's the Fort Smith Junction Bridge, and here 2 major barriers you see are the Fort Smith Junction and the North Canadian River. So how do you get past all of that? Great way would be to come down 4th Street and then down Vicky Drive. The problem is it leaves you on Reno, and then again you're in traffic. Next slide. Here's one such person. His name is Oscar Jackson. He lives around the corner up by 21st Street, west of I-35, and he shops for groceries in Del City, the Walmart. How does he do that? Can you imagine this oversized man on an ill-fitting bicycle riding on a busy mile section with no shoulder, carrying 2 bags of groceries? It happens all the time. I drive out that way when I go home and I see it. Next. What's a solution? Next slide. Okay, the solution is put a bicycle trail right here that connects Vicky Drive, north of Reno, with the traffic light at Howard, and then he can come all the way down here. There's another traffic light here, and there's Walmart. So he doesn't have to ride on a mile section at all, and every place where he crosses a mile section, it's at an existing traffic signal. So this is a very low-cost solution if Del City would put it in. As a matter of fact, you can meander. These green lines are existing residential roads all the way to Tinker Air Force Base, which is right here. Doing that. So you don't have to ride on a mile section at all, really, to get from point A to point B. Next. Okay, by the way, 4th Street has already been identified by Oklahoma City as a share-of-the-road facility. It's low traffic, and they already have the signage up. Next. So what's the area north of Reno between Vicky and Howard look like? Well, here it is. It's just wide open right-of-way that's owned by Del City 100%. There's no construction on it, and there are no utilities under it. So this is very minimal cost to provide a solution here. Next. Okay, how do you accomplish that? Next. Effectively, there's a grant available from ODOT, and ODOT will match 80% to a 20% match on the part of the municipality, the city. So 2 steps. You have to go through city council, get a resolution, get them to say, okay, we'll put up the match, we will set aside that property, and we'll provide for the maintenance in an ongoing manner. So if you put together a resolution, a grant proposal that passes the city, then the grant proposal can go to ODOT, and if it's passed, well, then the whole thing happens. Not much money, total under $100,000 more than likely. And again, this required a lot of resources to get it happen. If you want to get something through a city council, you need concerned citizens showing up saying, we need this. How do you get that? Well, you go to the Oklahoma Bicycle Society, you put an email blast out on their listserv that says, hey, show up at the city council meeting. And actually, one guy showed up in spandex riding his bicycle right into the council chamber, and it happened. They passed it unanimously. So that's gone to ODOT, and more than likely, we'll get that matching grant. Next. That's it. So effectively, these are a bunch of people who kind of put their heads together and said, what are the problems, what can we do about it? And tap the subject matter experts and the resources that actually make these things happen. So the neighborhood over here got the $10,000. What they do with it, they got the landscaping, they got street signs. They printed up a bunch of t-shirts to make money. That's pretty cool. They had a block party. They've got Facebook presence now with 47 members in a community with 300 houses, many of whom don't have internet at all, much less Facebook or email. That's pretty impressive. So they're doing a really good job. And that's all I've got to present, but I think they're really good solutions. Not a whole lot, well, okay, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's mostly evenings and weekends, a bunch of annual leave actually, but really worth doing. And if anybody's interested, just holler at me and let me know what's on your mind.